Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of the Arsenal News Show, joining you every morning at 8 a.m, keeping you all up to date with everything going on in the world of Arsenal. Yes, the Arsenal transfer show has come to a sad end for at least another few months until the January transfer window. On the lead up to the January transfer window, we usually kind of start them around a month before the window opens. And we'll be doing that again, although saying that will be the World Cup. So suppose the Arsenal transfer show will return partway through the winter World Cup. I'm getting confused with my seasons now. But good morning, everybody joining us in the chat. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. For those that are new to this, it's probably a shorter newsy section and a lot more kind of discussion with you guys in the chat box. But there is still transfer stories to discuss. Certainly plenty of injury news, and with how thick and fast games are going to be coming, plenty of injury stories, I'm sure, to discuss as we go through the season. Good morning to everybody that's joined us in the chat box. Good morning to Jose. Good morning to Black Shine and Olu and Simon. Good morning to Kaiser and James and Martin and Matt. We've got Reese and Lynn, who says, sorry, I got your wife's name wrong. Yeah, it's fine, Lynn. Don't worry. She took it well. It was a very funny thing to open up in the morning, but I appreciate it. Stephen, Bagyesh, good morning to you, to Chima, to Sam and Glenn and Gooner, David and Bruce. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. So many more of you as well. Let's jump to our sponsors. As always, make sure if you're not already buying your tickets to the latest one, which is still the Arsenal against PSV, and the game in which hopefully we will see Arsenal pick up more points in the Europa League group stage, but the trickiest game that we've got in our group against PSV. At home, though, away is obviously going to be more difficult, but I mean, this Rangers side knocked them out, so you'd think we'd have a really good chance of beating and besting them. Moving forwards, thank you ever so much for voting for us in the FCAs. Today is the last day of voting, I think, or maybe tomorrow at midnight. It's either midnight tonight or midnight tomorrow. It's difficult when they put things at midnight. You never know when they end. But you can vote for us by going to www.votefortgt.com. Tag us on Instagram at the Gooner Talk, to the relevant page on the Football Content Awards website, or go to the website as well and vote too. Yesterday evening, as I'm sure plenty of you joining me in the chat box this morning, we did our Gooners v Cancer live show at the Ridley Road Social Club. It was an amazing evening, genuinely such a great pleasure to not just chat Arsenal and chat about ourselves a little bit, which was, talking about the stories of kind of where we are, where we've come from, things like that, but also to meet so many people. I met so many people for the first time that watched the show, that are in the Discord server. People, of course, I've met before at other live events. And it was just amazing to meet so many people. So many people, thank you for the congratulations on the wedding, by the way. I think I got more congratulations for the wedding in one night then than on my actual wedding day. So, but it was an amazing evening. Some great guests. You can actually watch the live show back if you want to. If you go onto the Gooners Pods, which is the podcast that Mike, of course, does, you can actually watch back the live show. I might share that on our feeds after today's show. But yeah, if you want to go and watch that live show back, you'll be able to do that on the Gooners Pod. But as I say, I will share that on your YouTube feeds from the TGT account. Now, Steven Gerrard explained why Douglas Luiz was not allowed to leave the club. He spoke about the fact that it was his intention, that he didn't want to lose the player. He was an important part of the team. It is certainly my understanding, and that of a lot of my colleagues, that there is bafflement at Arsenal as to why Douglas Luiz wasn't sold. The offer that Arsenal put in of around £25 million in the end was a very, very fair offer, arguably overpaying for a player with 1 year left on his contract. And yes, it was a frustratingly difficult end to the transfer window, but Arsenal did everything they could have possibly done to go and get Douglas Luiz in the end, after pivoting after Mohamed Elneny's injury. But it seems that Aston Villa, it didn't matter what they did, they were never, ever going to sell, which is a shame. But it is the reality that Arsenal finds themselves in. Mikel Arteta also was asked about the transfer window specifically and kind of the disappointment around it. He said, no, we had a lot. But he was asked basically on whether he's disappointed not in signing a midfielder. And he said, no, we had a lot of things still to do in the squad. You see the amount of departures compared to the number we have recruited. The club has done a phenomenal job and put everything on the table to try and bring in the players and the profile that we wanted. We did business pretty early, but unfortunately in the past 72 hours, Partey got injured in the same place as last time, and then Mohamed Elneny has a long-term injury. Then we had to react in the market, and we tried. But at the end of the day, we have to bring in the player that we feel is right for the team and for the club, and we didn't manage to do it. And I think that obviously there was a price tag that they just weren't willing to go and spend more than £25 million is more than fair for a player with less than a year left on it, 9 months left on their deal. To be honest, who knows? It could be a blessing in disguise that we didn't get Luiz. It would have been a lot of money to spend on what would effectively have been a Mohamed Elneny replacement. Certainly not a competitor, really, for Thomas Partey. It might turn out to be a bit of a blessing in disguise. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, if we get injuries again, or if Partey doesn't return to fitness as quickly as we would hope, we might find ourselves in a little bit of trouble. But hopefully we get some good news on the injury front very soon. Despite that, there is only, 10 league games between now and the January transfer window opening. Arsenal, according to my colleague Simon Collins, who works at the Evening Standard, reported yesterday that there is an expectation Arsenal could revive their interest in Danilo. This has been backed up by Kaya Kainak, my colleague at Football London, who also reports on this too. Danilo, of course, seemed too difficult of a player to get done in the summer transfer window by the end, playing in Brazil for a team in Palmeiras that didn't need to sell, didn't want to sell, and of course have got their responsibilities in the Copa Libertadores semi-final and didn't want to lose one of their best players for the tournament whilst pressure remains quite high on the ownership. So there is an understanding of why that deal didn't happen, but because of his profile, because of that kind of their participation in that tournament being over by January, hopefully that means that their stance will kind of soften to the idea of Danilo joining Arsenal, and he, I imagine, will be someone that we look to target come that winter transfer window. Now, bad news, unfortunately, on the injury front. Mikel Arteta was asked about both Ramsdale and Odegaard's fitness. He said those two are being assessed. We will see more tomorrow. Hopefully, they will be able to train with the team, meaning, of course, that they haven't yet. So they would have only had one training session before playing against Manchester United. They are looking like short-term problems, especially for Odegaard, who was an impact injury in a kick. I don't know who it was off in the end, but he received a pretty bad kick, which unfortunately kept him out of training this week. He did say that, unfortunately, with Alex Zinchenko, that's still not the case. He missed 2 games and has not been able to train with the team yet. So it seems surprising if Zinchenko will be involved with the team against Manchester United. Thomas Partey has a thigh problem, as we know. Mohamed Elneny, with his hamstring injury, are also out of the game, with the boss revealing that some potential timeframes. He said with Mo, it's probably going to be a little easier, and we are talking months. And with Thomas, hopefully we are talking weeks or even shorter than that, I hope. So there is an expectation that potentially we could see Partey back within the next couple of weeks or so. Fingers crossed. But unfortunately, Odegaard and Ramsdale have not trained yet. They could train today, potentially. I would be surprised if Ramsdale isn't involved in the game tomorrow with a goalkeeper in that type of injury. You can risk bringing them in because they're not doing kind of the high explosive sprints that outfield players are, but there is no need to take a risk. You know, Manchester United are going to be a very difficult test for us, more so than we probably thought, 3 weeks ago when they were losing to the likes of Brentford and Brighton. But it's important that we don't risk key players like Odegaard to try and get a result in a game that ultimately we can recover from. And if it means that we drop points or we even lose the game, but we managed to protect Odegaard and get him available for, say, 5, 6, 7, 8 more games than we would have done, I'd rather that over across a number of players than risk players and lose them for a long period of time. So for me, if there is any risk at all to Odegaard, I wouldn't take it, especially when you've got Smith Rowe, we've got Fabio Vieira. I wouldn't necessarily throw Fabio Vieira in from the start. I'd just out and out switch Odegaard for Smith Rowe. There's also, I think, the scope to do a formation change if we wanted to. We could switch to a 3-4-3, remove the number 10 kind of player, and then put, Tierney on the left wing back position, White, Gabriel, and Saliba in the back 3, put Saka as kind of a wide wing back role, and then have Smith Rowe Jesus and Gabriel Martinelli, or you could do Jesus on the right and Nketiah through the middle, and Martinelli on the left with Xhaka and Lokonga in the middle. You could do something like that. So I've written a piece that's coming out about kind of how we can react to Odegaard's injury. But either Smith Rowe or Vieira you would think would come in for him, or you can change the system. So I look forward to the game tomorrow. I'm going to the game. I'm going to be in the press box for the first time. That's going to be a great experience. It is one of those kind of career moments where I'm like, again, I'm massively grateful to everybody that's helped support me on this journey. So to go and sit in the press box for the first time and do work at a game is a genuine pleasure, and I am not taking it for granted. I know that it's I know the sheen has washed off that experience for a lot of journalists. I remember James Bench, who was, of course, at our event last night, was at London Colney for the press conference. And, to me, when I went up to London Colney before the release of the documentary to sit down and talk to Aaron Ramsdale and Granit Xhaka, that moment was still like quite starstruck, if you like, sitting down in a room with two players you've been watching on telly, never seen in kind of close range or anything. That was such a strange experience, and it probably will be again going up to the press box, on Sunday. And I'm sure eventually that kind of aura around it will potentially lose its sheen, but I think I'll never stop appreciating how lucky I am, and a massive thank you to everybody that's helped support the channel. So look forward to that. It's going to be a long day of driving, though. Driving up to Manchester, driving back. It's going to be a long, long day, but hopefully I'll be driving back knowing Arsenal have won all 3 points. That finishes the first half of today's show, which means we're going to move on to the second part and, of course, your questions. So without further ado, let's jump into the chat and tackle as many of these as we can after this quick break. Okay, then, make sure, if you haven't done so already, to get involved with this week's competition. Link in the description. You can win a ticket to go see Arsenal against PSV and lots of brilliant instant prizes. And do vote for us, of course, in the FCAs. All the information is on the screen, or just go to www.votefortgt.com. Voting closes tomorrow at midnight. Let's, without further ado, though, jump into the chats and see if we can tackle plenty of your questions. Gooner Talk says, Luiz turned down Liverpool. He did, indeed. Luiz was very much set on joining Arsenal. It didn't happen, as we know, but he certainly wanted to make the deal go through. He wanted to do this deal. It's just frustrating, I think, for Arsenal that we were unable ultimately to get it done. And everyone is pretty baffled as to why Aston Villa were not more open to selling Luiz at all. Louis says, I think having Vieira able to play as an 8, he may start over Xhaka eventually, and Xhaka becomes our backup mid for Partey. Not the ideal position, but a solid player to call on when injuries. Yeah, I think Vieira's versatility is going to be a massive, massive asset to the club this season. I think we're going to see him play right. I think we're going to see him play in the middle, potentially left, potentially at 10. Who knows where else is going to pop up? So I think we're going to see Vieira playing lots of different positions this season, and his versatility is definitely going to be a massive, massive asset to the club going forwards. Lynn says, Tom, so if you were Arteta, what would you do? If it was me picking the team tomorrow, and we're going to be doing a preview show tonight with the members at 9 o'clock. I know it's a late one, but when you have midweek games, it's really difficult to try and do preview shows in the space of time. But 9 o'clock tonight on the channel will be the preview for the Manchester United game. So do tune in or set your alarms for then with our members from the Discord server, of course. Hopefully a couple that I met last night as well. Be pretty great to see. But what would I do? I think I would just switch in Smith Rowe for now. I don't think I'd throw Vieira in at this moment in time. It's getting your debut, your first start at Old Trafford. It's not the best way to ease you into your first Premier League experience. I know there's the whole trial by fire, or, sometimes you need to run before you can walk kind of arguments, but I think I'd be playing it a bit more safe. Bring Smith Rowe in. If Ramsdale isn't fit, then, Turner obviously comes in. But other than that, I would keep it the same team that played against Aston Villa. I think that's probably the way in which we've got to move forwards, is consistency and hope, of course, that we can get a result. I said my prediction is a 2-2 draw. I would take that at this stage. I would absolutely take a draw. I think this game is more important not to lose than it is to win it, especially considering kind of our injury situation at the moment. If we come out of this game having scored points, I'll be very pleased indeed. Still, of course, would be joint top minimum, even if Manchester City were to win. So, yes, I think it's more important that we don't lose this game. Keep the unbeaten record going. Keep momentum pushing forwards, and try and come out with as many points as feasibly possible. Yomi says, with United's defence looking solid and reinforcement at midfield, do you think our weakened midfield will get overrun? Should we be worried? We should be measured in our concern. We shouldn't underestimate Manchester United. I know they had a comically bad start to the season. But that said, the 3 games they've played, Southampton, I think they were lucky to come out with a win there. I really do. The Liverpool game, Liverpool were bad. Really, really, really bad. And Leicester were really bad. I feel as though in that game against Leicester, Arsenal would have put Leicester away by 5-6 goals. I really do. They were so poor and arguably could have come out with a draw if they'd have been a little bit more clinical. But Leicester are awful. But I didn't really look at that Man United team and thought, wow, these guys are insane. Of course, Casemiro could come in for this game and start his first game as a Man United player. I'd be surprised if he didn't, to be honest. Anthony, probably potentially on the bench, could come off the bench in the second half. We'll have to wait and see. But that's, 120 odd million quid's worth of players that could come into the team. And we're up against Lisandro Martinez, who, because of the way we play, is quite well suited to this game. For the ball on the floor, the way in which we play, hopefully he doesn't injure anyone. We know what he's like. So we just got to hope we come out with something from the game tomorrow. John says, are there not any free agents you would sign on a 1-year deal, or should we roll the dice on what we have? It's a good question. And I saw my colleague Chris Davison put a tweet out about Xhaka, is it? I believe the Lille midfielder. He, I think, is a former Lille midfielder. He's a free agent at this moment in time, I think. No club has taken him. He's 27-year-old Portuguese central midfielder. Is he worth going for? He's valued at around £8 million on Transfermarkt. Look, if we weren't going to go and bring anyone else in on loan, I don't think we should go and sign anyone for the sake of signing someone. I know you talk about a 1-year deal and all that, but Xhaka will be looking for a long-term contract with a club. I'm not sure he's going to take a 1-year contract necessarily. He'll be looking to try and tie down his future. I just personally wouldn't do it. I just don't think we need to sign for the sake of signing. If we've got to the end of the transfer window and we haven't done it, I too don't think we should do it. I think we can wait till January. We're 10 league games away. Wait till January, push our luck a bit, and we are pushing our luck. Hope that Partey and Zinchenko return from injury as quickly as possible and move from there. I don't think we need to panic buy and sign someone on a free contract. Paul says, hey, Tom, besides the outrageous fees placed on Douglas Luiz by Aston Villa, do you think Villa refused to sell because they don't want to strengthen Arsenal? No. I don't necessarily think it's because of that. Maybe it is. I don't personally think it is. I just think they were determined not to sell. I think that it could have been any team and they wouldn't have sold, not just Arsenal. That's why I say no to the original question. I think Villa are quite proud in where they're at and what they are wanting to be. And if they're kind of seen selling one of their key players to a club that they considered a bit of a rival, especially last season when they were trying to kind of usurp Arsenal into the European places, I think that would be kind of looked upon as a sign of weakness. We know we've had the Smith Rowe saga. We have allowed Chambers to go there on a free. We obviously sold them Emi Martinez as well. But I just don't think that they were going to sell to anyone on deadline day at all. So, no, I don't think it's just Arsenal. I think it would have been any club in particular. By the way, thank you. There's 700 of you watching, which, considering the fact that this is a brand new, the Arsenal news show, it's not the Arsenal transfer show because the window is now finished. Thank you so much, everybody that is tuning in. I'm going to tackle a few more of your questions as well, so don't go anywhere. But thank you, everybody that continues to make this part of your morning routine. I promised that the show wouldn't be going anywhere, and it isn't. Of course, I will be on my honeymoon in literally 2 weeks today. So I'm going to try and pre-record some content to go out whilst I'm away. I probably will do a reaction whilst I'm out there to the Brentford game. Yes, call me crazy, but I am still going to try and do that for you. But we are going to pre-record content, so it does go out at 8 a.m. So some days, not every day, but some days you'll still have some content for you in the morning to have with your Cheerios. Let's go to Paul, who says, Gary Neville has complained about how much we've spent in the last 2 summer windows. Has he? Has Gary Neville complained? What a surprise. Man United have spent a bit less than the total this summer. Why are the pundits so anti-Arsenal? Because it's fashionable, because it gets clicks, because it gets views. If you want to get attention, criticize Arsenal. If you want to become a bit of a pantomime villain, be critical of Arsenal. Whether you're an Arsenal fan or not, being critical of Arsenal gets you attention. It's just what happens. Because Paul, as you've demonstrated inadvertently by leaving this question, it's clearly got to you. It gets to me. It does. And it's really difficult to ignore. It's just the game. It's just the game. I think it was it Gabby Agbonlahor that put out a tweet when he signed his contract with TalkSport that said, like, thanking the trolls, I got this because of you. He got that contract because of sparky moments, if you know what I mean, like these spark moments that create viral clips. If you want to do it, if you want to compromise what you genuinely believe in and what you genuinely think, and I genuinely believe that people like Gabby Agbonlahor are doing that with some of their opinions and are, exaggerating them or are going against what they really believe to kind of create these viral clips. Like Richard Keys, I don't think that Richard Keys necessarily believes that the celebrations are as embarrassing. He might look down and go, yeah, I'm not really a big fan of that, or I'm not really a big fan of Arteta. But I don't actually believe he hates the celebrations as much as he's letting on. But they know that if you say that and clip it, it's going to go viral. It's going to get people talking. It's just part and parcel of what happens. So pundits, I don't think, genuinely hate Arsenal. There is a historic hatred for the club. It just exists. Research it. It's worth looking into. Arsenal aren't one of the most well-liked clubs in the world at all. It's just the way it's been for a very, very long time. But it's mainly because it's just really easy to get clicks and clips and views by criticising Arsenal. It's just it is the game. It's part of the game. Let's go to Dominic, who says, am I the only one who feels more excited about Fabio Vieira playing rather than Smith Rowe? No, I actually am. I'm really excited about seeing what Vieira can bring to the team. But Smith Rowe is the more natural fit right now, just while we bed Vieira in the Europa League games. I expect Europa League to start Vieira, to get opportunities for Marquinhos, for Nketiah to start. Rob Holding's going to come in. Cedric's probably going to come in. Tomiyasu could come in. In midfield, we are a bit short. Who knows? Maybe one of the youngsters like Matt Smith will play and get some opportunities. We'll have to wait and see. Who else might be involved? Smith Rowe, you would expect to also, be involved in some way, shape or form. I expect probably some of the starting 11 still to play, like Xhaka, like Gabriel, potentially. We will start some first team players. I wouldn't be surprised if we do that. Martinelli might come off the bench, as might Jesus. So I think that there will happen. But at the moment, you should be excited about, Fabio Vieira. A couple more minutes. František says, Tom, it's funny hearing United fans be so cocky again after 2 lucky wins while they struggled to complete 3 to 5 successful passes in a row. But all you can hear is how delusional our fan base is. Look, František, and first of all, thank you so much for the donation. That's very kind. Whilst you're right, we need to be measured, because if we lose tomorrow, goodness me, the mood's going to change around this club very quickly. Very, very quickly. That's why I said that it is more important that we don't lose the game tomorrow than it is to win it. Tactfully, in terms of momentum, in terms of the mood, especially after a disappointing end to the transfer window, for me, is so key that we don't lose this game. If we can try and win it, amazing, great, go do it. But you need to make sure we don't lose it. That game we lost at Old Trafford last season, I think, was a real jab to the gut, at that time in December and leading up to the January window, when January was a really awful month. Who knows what impact that kind of had on the team, especially with the Everton game that we lost as well. So we need to make sure that we don't lose that game. Just make sure we don't lose the game. Teng Wang says, love the show last night, Tom. Congrats on the first press duty. Thanks, mate. I really appreciate that. Lynn says, Tom, these pundits who annoy Arsenal fans don't realise they will give them more support to the club. They probably do, Lynn. They probably do know what they're doing. They probably do realise that it actually invigorates the Arsenal fan base to support ourselves more. But it also gets the little clicks, little clicking. It's just part of what it does. Mickey says, hi, Tom. I'm very confident about Sambi in midfield. So if we keep it compact with good runs into the space and still control the games while we wait for Partey, the experience could be creating a beast with Sambi. And this is a really good point. And someone tweeted me yesterday something I think I'd said ages ago, which was, people have said a long time, Sambi's not ready yet. He's not ready to play. He's not of the level yet. Well, I'm sorry. The only way that Sambi becomes ready is by playing. He needs to play. And if he's playing, he's going to be getting closer to the player that we know that he can be, the player that got him this move, the player that earned him captaincy at Anderlecht at a teenage year. That's what we need for him. We need minutes. We need time in big games. We need these experiences. So I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing what Sambi brings to the fold. Thank you so much to the over 800 of you that are listening. We are going to round things off there. I'll be back tomorrow morning and this evening at 9 o'clock for a preview of tomorrow's game against Manchester United. Do make sure you tune in. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are indeed new around here with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. It's been a genuine pleasure to join you as it was across the entire transfer window, and the morning shows are going nowhere. Thank you everybody that joined us last night. If you want to go and watch last night's live show in North London, East London, North London, Ridley Road Social Club, then do indeed make sure that you go over to the Gooners Pod. I will share it on your timelines on YouTube, so it should come up. Go and watch it. It was a really good show, really insightful, really interesting, and a lot of money was raised as well. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, up the Arsenal.